chased by the headless ones. The night was heavy with silence, broken only by the sound of crickets in the fields. Above me, the full moon glowed brighter than ever, spreading silver light across the village. Every corner looked alive in that strange glow, yet deep inside, the air carried a sense of mystery, as if something was waiting, hidden behind the beauty of the night. It was the night of the annual fair. Once every year, on the full moon, the village would gather at the edge of the fields. There would be music, traditional plays, the sound of flutes and drums, people laughing and buying sweets, children running around with paper lanterns. For us villagers, it was the biggest night of joy and celebration. That evening, I had planned to go with my two closest friends. We agreed to meet near the large pond outside the village, then head to the fair together. The pond was famous for its beauty on a full moon night. Its surface turned into a perfect mirror, reflecting the sky as if heaven itself had fallen into the water. But for some reason, I arrived early, at least 15 to 20 minutes before the meeting time. I walked slowly along the narrow path, feeling the cool breeze against my face, expecting to wait alone. And then I froze. Both of my friends were already there, sitting quietly on the edge of the pond. Their figures were clear in the moonlight, their faces glowing pale white under the reflection of the full moon. They smiled and waved at me as if they had been waiting all along. Relief washed over me. Maybe I was just too impatient. Maybe they also came early like me. "Hey, you came fast," one of them called. I smiled back, my footsteps echoing softly against the damp earth as I joined them by the water. The ripples of the pond shimmered under the moonlight, and for a moment, everything felt peaceful. We sat together, chatting about the fair, about the music and the food we would enjoy. The silence of the countryside wrapped around us, interrupted only by the distant sound of drums and laughter drifting from the fairground. But in that perfect stillness, under that enchanting moonlight, I couldn't help but feel something was off. Their smiles were too wide, their eyes too still, and though I tried to shake it off, deep inside, a shadow of unease began to stir. We left the pond behind and started walking toward the fair. The narrow dirt road cut through open fields, and in the distance, we could already hear faint sounds of drums and flutes. The moon lit up the path so brightly that we didn't even need lanterns. As we walked, laughter and chatter filled the air. My friends spoke with excitement about the rides, the songs, the food stalls. But even as I walked beside them, that strange unease lingered in the back of my mind. Their voices sounded normal, their faces looked familiar, yet something about them felt hollow, empty, as if I was walking with shadows wearing the skin of my friends. And then, we reached that place. By the side of the road, hidden behind wild overgrown bushes, stood the old abandoned house. Its walls were broken, its roof half collapsed. The windows were nothing but dark holes, like the empty eyes of a skull, staring at anyone who dared to pass. Everyone in the village knew the stories. Decades ago, the family who lived there had all died suddenly, and since then, strange things had been seen and heard, voices calling in the night, lights flickering through the cracks, shadows moving behind the broken walls. Even in broad daylight, people avoided this path. We usually hurried past without a word, but that night, one of my friends stopped. His face still pale in the moonlight, he turned toward the house. "Let's go inside," he said, smiling strangely. I blinked in disbelief. "Are you mad? Nobody goes in there. Everyone says it's cursed." The other one joined in, his voice sharper than usual. "Come on. Don't be such a coward. It's just an old house. Tonight's the perfect night to see what's really inside." A chill ran down my spine. "No, absolutely not." They exchanged a glance, and suddenly, their tone changed. The warmth in their voices disappeared. They began mocking me, spitting out cruel words, insults so filthy and vicious that my heart froze. Words they had never, ever used with me before. And as they spoke, their faces seemed to shift under the pale glow. The corners of their mouths stretched unnaturally wide, their eyes darkened, and their skin looked too pale, almost lifeless. "Stop it," I shouted, but my voice cracked with fear. They stepped closer, their shadows stretching long across the ground, merging with the darkness of the broken house behind them. That's when I realized, these were not my friends. My heart pounded as I stepped back from them. The air around us felt heavier, colder, as if the night itself was closing in. "Stop messing with me," I whispered, though my voice was shaking. But deep down, I already knew these were not my friends. Their faces twisted further, their pale lips curled into grotesque smiles, stretching wider than any human mouth should. Their eyes, once familiar, turned black and hollow. The sound of their laughter changed to no longer the laughter of my friends, but something broken, guttural, and human. Then, suddenly, their voices grew sharper, angrier. They hurled curses at me, spitting venom with every word. The more they shouted, the less human they became. Their bodies seemed to twitch, their heads jerking unnaturally, their movements like puppets pulled by invisible strings. That was the moment my legs finally gave into fear. I turned and ran. The path ahead stretched endlessly, glowing faintly under the moonlight. My breath came out in sharp gasps as I sprinted, my footsteps echoing against the silent fields. But behind me, something followed. Thud, thud, thud. Heavy footsteps, faster and faster. I forced myself to look back, and what I saw almost stopped my heart. The two figures chasing me were no longer my friends. Their heads were gone. Two headless bodies were running after me, their necks torn open, dark liquid dripping down their shoulders. Their hands reached out, clawing at the air, as if desperate to grab me. And yet, despite having no eyes, no faces, they ran as if they could see me perfectly. A scream tore out of my throat, but the sound was swallowed by the night. I pushed myself harder, my chest burning, my legs numb. The world blurred around me, the fair's music in the distance now twisted into something distorted, unholy. Behind me, the thundering footsteps grew louder. They were getting closer. Every time I glanced back, I saw them, two headless silhouettes, rushing forward unnaturally fast, their shadows stretching long across the moonlit ground. My lungs screamed for air, my body wanted to collapse, but the thought of those clawing hands dragging me into the darkness kept me moving. And then, just as their footsteps grew so close, I could almost feel their breathless presence on my neck. I saw him, far ahead, on the path, bathed in moonlight. A figure stood still. Unlike everything else that night, he was calm. His white robes fluttered gently in the breeze. A soft glow surrounded him, and from his very presence came a fragrance so pure, so heavenly, it cut through the suffocating fear inside me. For the first time that night, I felt a flicker of hope. My legs were about to give out, my chest burned, my breath came in broken gasps, and the pounding footsteps behind me grew closer and closer. I could almost feel those headless things reaching for me, ready to drag me into the dark forever. But then, I saw him, the man in white. He stood at the end of the moonlit path, perfectly still, as though the chaos of the night couldn't touch him. His face glowed with a serenity I had never seen before. His robes shimmered faintly in the silver light, and from his very body came a fragrance so soothing, so unearthly, it felt like a shield against the terror chasing me. I stumbled toward him, desperate, terrified, and just as I did, the dreadful footsteps behind me began to fade, as if the creatures were being held back by an unseen force. The man raised his hand. His voice was calm, yet carried a weight that silenced the night itself. "They are not your friends," he said firmly. His eyes locked onto mine. "If you had stepped inside that house, you would already be dead, and your body would have been found without a head." My knees nearly buckled. A cold wave rushed through my veins as his words sank in. My instincts had been right all along. Those things weren't my friends. They had lured me to my death. "Listen to me," he continued, his tone sharp yet protective. "Do not turn back. Do not ask questions. Just walk forward. Go straight home. And whatever happens, do not look behind you." His words struck me like a command written into my very soul. I nodded weakly, too terrified to disobey. So I walked. Each step felt like an eternity. My ears strained for the sound of footsteps behind me. Whispers, anything. And indeed, I heard them. Low laughter, a woman's faint cry, the shuffling of feet that weren't there. My body screamed at me to look back, but I remembered his warning. I kept my eyes fixed on the path, my fists clenched, my legs moving as if in a trance. Finally, my house came into sight. The small clay walls, The familiar wooden door, it had never looked so welcoming. I rushed forward and knocked on the door, desperate, my fist slamming against the wood. But as I stood there, waiting for it to open, I felt it again. A presence, right behind me, standing so close, I could almost feel cold breath against my neck. My skin crawled, every instinct begging me to turn around. My heart thundered in my chest. Was it the Headless ones? Were they waiting just inches away? The door creaked open. My family stood inside, startled by my frantic knocking. I spun around. Nothing. The path was empty, the moonlight silent. And yet, the heaviness in the air told me something had been there, watching, waiting. That night, I collapsed with fever. For 6 long days, I lay in bed, haunted by nightmares of headless figures chasing me, whispering my name in voices that didn't belong to the living. Even now, I don't know who that man was, the one who saved me. Was he a holy saint, an angel, or something beyond human understanding? All I know is this: if he hadn't appeared that night, I would never have lived to tell this story. Did you enjoy the story? Let us know in the comments. And if you liked it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Horror Dream. Want more stories like this? Subscribe to The Horror Dream, and we'll bring you more darkness, just for you. If you enjoy a little chill down your spine, stick around, like, share, and hit that subscribe button, right here on The Horror Dream. Your support keeps us going, so stay with us. Subscribe to The Horror Dream for more spine-tingling tales.